One thing that comes up in family cases a lot in financial remedy is the court asks for a schedule of outgoings. Are you familiar with that term?
Yeah, so are you talking about expenditure here?
Yeah. So schedule of outgoings, and people often say, "Oh, well, have you got a schedule of outgoings?" Like, yeah, I can provide it, but what I say to them is, why don't you go through your bank statements and work out what you spend
Mm.
your money on, as a base it on that? Because what the court is asking is, go through all your outgoings now and what your anticipated outgoings are in the future. And this is such a difficult exercise for people.
Yes.
Sometimes people have never done this before.
Yeah.
So, anything you can assist with at that stage, do you think?
Yeah, of course. We can, we've got spreadsheets and what have you that we can provide, and we can show someone how to use the spreadsheet, and that way they can see what their income versus expenditure is, and get a figure of disposable income. And if it's in the negative, you're spending more than you should, then at least you know what to do. Then you're like, right, I need to find out somewhere where to cut or to make more cash somewhere. So yeah, we can do that. That's sort of part A to many parts of financial planning. So yeah, we could do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I see that doesn't happen enough in a way, because what can often happen is you might have one earner earning, I don't know, 200K, one person earning 35K.
Mm.
It is usually, at the moment, it is usually the male earning that and the female. It could be the other way around. Let's just flip it and say, the female's earning 200K, man's earning 35K, and then they're living separately, whereas they haven't been before because they're going through the divorce procedure.
Yeah.
So one person may not have enough money for their outgoings. So you may have to make what's called a maintenance pending suit application, or a final maintenance application.
Mm.
So what I find is people haven't really ever done that exercise, or maybe one of the parties have, but the other one hasn't.
Yeah.
So then that's a cash modelling projection, I assume, that you can do.
Yeah. So once we've sort of guided someone how to work out what their actual expenditure is, then we can use that information to build a cash flow model.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've been doing more recently, so sort of pre-pandemic, but certainly as the pandemic came in, technology was used more, so we started using that more. And it's a great way to visualize how far your cash flow can go and your assets into the future. And it makes use some assumptions around earnings growth rates, inflation, asset price, movements. And yeah, we can work out, if there is a shortfall in the future to look out for, such as early retirement. Is that possible or not? If it's not possible, how can we make it possible? Those sort of things we can establish with.
So that's
the
really
use of the
going
tool.
on to the future, isn't it? So
Yeah.
that's probably a more, well, that's a really interesting exercise for people, isn't it? And
Yeah.
sometimes courts say, we want to capitalise maintenance, because people don't really like paying maintenance to the other party after they get divorced.
Yeah.
So one party might say, well, I need £1 million as a lump sum. So I suppose by doing your modelling, you might show how that money would be used and how long that person could live on that money.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
if invested in the correct tax wrappers, such as ISAs, pensions, or investment bonds, then that could be even more sustainable. So that's another sort of key benefit of advice. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's incredibly useful for people. And I think I've seen this, I think you're showing this to me. They have a graph. And so sometimes there might be, for example, school fees that you'd incorporate into that, because
Yeah.
that's another factor. And of course, the court can make a school fees order. So all of this information is incredibly useful
Yeah.
for the decision maker. So let's say there's £2 million or whatever they have that you can see. So would you then show a model of, I suppose, the school fees are going to finish at a certain time, and then how long that money's going to last?
Yeah, exactly. And school fees, we can build it quite easily as a future expense. And again, it's a great way. The tool we use is a great way of visualizing any shortfalls that arise during those years. And at least you've got time to prepare for either looking at maybe another school, or just finding other assets elsewhere that are not in the model. In the future, such as someone having an ambition to run their own business. Now they've got some bandwidth, a bit more bandwidth after a divorce, and therefore generates more cash flow. Therefore, can afford school fees. So that sort of stuff we can do on the fly, add into the model, have regular catch-ups on an annual basis, and if that's really important, then we can plan for it. Yeah.
Cool.